Speaking of hops, can't make beer generally without hops, and boy, this has really become very popular, growing them in the state of Michigan over the last 8 years, in particular in this region. My Local Hops Farm recently opened. They're currently in production. Well, not production. They're currently in the process of putting in the first of the first 200 to 400 acres, and they're doing that right now, about a 7-iron from here in Williamsburg. And on the phone with us now, Jason Warren from My Local Hops. Good morning, sir. How are you this morning?
Morning, Dick. Good.
Now, I'm right about that. This is 200 to 400, correct?
We're starting out with 200 and then transitioning into the next 200 as demand and other things come into play.
All right, let's talk a little bit about what led you to this point today. I just drove by yesterday. I see the poles are going up quickly. Trellises are being put in. You got a long way to go. Let's start there. Where are you right now in the process of getting it ready so you can plant? When do you think you'll have all the poles in that you need for this first 200?
We're doing it in stages. We have 7 different fields laid out. What you see out there now is currently field number 1. So we'll have crews that'll start in 1, and then we'll have them move throughout all 7, hoping to have everything completed and in the ground and planted by August.
And when you talk about this is a huge endeavor. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's very large. I
can hear it in your voice. All right, so what led to all this? What said, you know what, we're going to just completely go crazy here and put in 200 with the eye on 400? What led to that decision?
Well, my partners and the people that we brought on board are all from an ag background, and we understand that in order to do ag the way you need to do it, you got to have economies of scale. And really, the reason that we looked at the 200 to start was really driven by achieving those economies of scale with the processing plant and the farming operations and all the equipment that go into it. The other side of it is that the state of Michigan, as a lot of people know, is home to some very popular, very successful breweries.
Yeah.
Who unfortunately are buying the majority of their hops from Washington and Oregon and shipping it all the way across the state. So our hope is that we can establish an industry in Michigan that can supply the volume of hops to get these Michigan brewers to purchase their hops from the state rather than going outside of the state.
And obviously, when you get into an endeavor like this, you don't do it without doing a fair amount of research and understanding what the market may bear. What have you heard and what did you hear from breweries leading up to this that made it seem like this would be a good venture for you in terms of demand and what they would want to see from you?
Well, the general consensus when we had our conversations, over the last 2 years leading up to this, was that the breweries were more than happy to buy hops from Michigan, but their concern was being able to get the volume of production and the consistency and quality to allow them to use Michigan hops in making their larger batches of beer. So, the consistency and the quality is what we heard, and that's what our group is hoping to bring to the table. We're going to be installing a state-of-the-art processing facility with the highest food-grade quality programs in place at the facility with the volume that would really allow some of the bigger breweries in the state to buy from us and have that consistency for their big batch brewing operations.
Now, the Wiesens with Empire Hops Farm, they're managing this for you, correct?
They are coming in on the growing and hop yard installation part of the process, and really coming alongside of us more as a partner than anything.
Okay.
So we're going to kind of be joining forces in the hop industry up here in northern Michigan.
And it is amazing, and I've brought this up probably more times than I can remember, but it was 7-8 years ago when I stumbled upon Dan Wiesen in his 5-acre hop field over by my house and took my camera over there and we did a news story on it and didn't have any idea what that tip of the iceberg looked like. And lo and behold, they doubled to 10. And now they had 130, and now with this, you're going to go to 330, and then soon, it's incredible the growth that's happened in the past 10 years. When you really kind of look at both craft beer in the state and hops production, it's exploded. There's no other way to describe it, correct?
Yeah, and the reality is that even with that explosion, there's barely enough hop grown in Michigan to even supply one of those major breweries. And so there's a lot of room for more acreage and more production in the state.
Now you guys are over there. You're developing what used to be High Point Golf Course, so timing really turned out to be nice too. Were you looking at other areas, or did High Point kind of come and say, "Oh, that's the place we want to go"?
There's a couple different reasons why we went to High Point. Number one is being a golf course, it already had the infrastructure for the water, which is really important for a hop operation. And then number two, we're investors, and in that area on that side of town, from a real estate perspective, is attractive to us with what's going on with Myers and such out there as well.
Right. Yeah. The expansion on that side of town, if you will, has got to be interesting to you.
Yeah. Acme Township is very supportive of ag operations as well. They encourage them, and they're really good in supporting them out there too.
Now, what do you expect? Let's see. I'm going to take that back a second. Generally, isn't it rule of thumb that a hops farm needs to go 3 years before it gets to full capacity on production? So you need to go through a couple of years of growing?
I would say that's probably a rule of thumb. I think it's possible in some of the things that we're doing that in year 2 you could have pretty close to full production.
Right.
Our intent is not to harvest a crop this year, but to rather let our root balls grow and have a real vibrant plant coming into next harvest year.
One of the things you got going for you out here, and we talked to Joe Berlott, who is dealing with you guys as well, works with the Wiesens, is that the plentiful water supply, which is kind of the opposite of what's going on in California, and I don't suppose it's hurting the northwestern part of this country too much, but having the abundant supply of water is definitely a plus side for you.
Yeah, hop takes a lot of water, and we also have some advantages in some other areas. Joe actually has come on board with our organization. He's an employee of My Local Hops, and so we're really excited to have him. He's got a lot of tricks up his sleeve from the years he's worked out in Washington. So but water is a huge advantage. The state of Michigan actually was one of the largest hop growing states way back in the 20s, but downy mildew came in and wiped out the crop and really put a bad taste in farmers' mouths, so they just went away from it. But we definitely are in the area where hops will grow well. Right,
and it's definitely on the rebound. What varieties will you offer eventually?
We're going to do Cascades and Centennials. We're going to do some Michigan Copper, Willamette. So we're going to do, a few different ones with the first initial acreage, and then as we bring on additional acreage, we've got some avenues with some brokers and some other growers to bring on some other varieties as well. But those will be driven by what the brewers are looking for at that particular time, too.
The second 200 will go adjacent to where you're doing it now?
We're keeping our options open.
Okay.
We've got some pieces of property around there that we're looking at, but we're not opposed to looking at other areas as well to expand in, or to bring on other people that are interested in growing and having us help them out on the processing side and then the yard installation side too.
Jason Warren, My Local Hops. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it. We will definitely keep in touch. I've been out there a few times shooting video, and it's coming right along. It's exciting.
Well, thanks a lot, Vic. Hopefully we'll be talking to you again coming around August and telling you everything's ready to go.
Yep. Thank you, sir. All right, folks, stay with us. Bob's Big Beer Show. We wrap it up next on 104.5 Bob FM. 104.5